There it is. Welcome to the November 13th Public Works and Finance Committee meeting. We're meeting here at 4:30 the day after the holiday of Veterans, so that's why we're on Tuesday. And our first action item is the approval of Public Works and Finance Committee meeting minutes of October 22nd.
Move to approve as presented.
Yeah, they were fine, so they have been accepted. Second item is disbursement report for October 2018. And hi, Sarah.
All right, so for looking at the month end of October 31st, 2018, the major expenditures totaled $3,145,034.78. The largest expenditure, as normal, is payroll, which was $944,266. Wanted to bring up a couple other large expenditures. The first one was our Paradise Path construction payment for $336,474. We have a 3rd Street Corridor multimodal improvement payment for $163,572.76. Mountain View Grind and Inlay for $146,576. And then we made a quarterly payment to Whitcomb for $136,338. That's towards our annual payment. Oh, and we made a half of an annual payment to iCrimp for $128,418. It was a big month.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you because there's all the capital outlay. Is this because it's the end of a quarter?
No, that's because it's the construction season. So this is the time of the year when
terminating.
large payments are coming in and we're finishing up year end, and so a large of those payments are being made.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
Nor do I.
All right.
Those are all things we've seen before.
Yes, they are. So then we can approve the report?
All right.
All right, we shall
Move to
approve the report.
your-
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
They move 'em around.
Thanks, Sarah.
Good afternoon. And our third item is we have a public meeting, a proposed lot division at 1045 Alturas Drive, and Leah was going to present us with that information.
All right, hello.
Hi.
Well, yeah.
Hi. Okay, so today for your review, we have a lot division at 1045 Alturas Drive. And this subject property is located on Alturas Drive, right off of Blaine Street. It's highlighted in red here. And the zoning is shown here. It's in the R4 zoning district. And for a twin home, which is what exists there today, the minimum lot size is 2,250 square feet and a minimum lot width of 25 feet, which it meets both of these requirements. So the current lot is 5,644 square feet. And the proposal is to split it into two lots of 2,730 square feet and 2,912 square feet.
Where did that 2 feet go?
That is a good question. Well, this is a site plan showing the site plan. And so you can see the subject property here down in the corner, and then here's just a closer up view of the site. And I guess the plus and minus is where that 2 feet come into play here.
Yeah.
So per city policy, residents within 600 feet of the subject property have been notified of the proposal and may be present in the audience here today to testify. But staff recommends approval with no conditions.
All right.
And if you have any questions.
At this point, I don't have any questions.
Is there a structure on there right now?
There is, yes. There's, let's see, 2 twin homes, so you can kind of see it there. Yeah, they're split. So it's just like what the other lots here are. So they're both 2 twin homes on individual lots. So.
All right, well, if there's any public comment out there? Here comes somebody. You can come to the table. We want you to come to the table.
Some people don't want me at the table. That's fine. Garrett Thompson, 1010 Pinecrest Road, Musk, Idaho. I am just here. So I own the lot behind, well, Thompson Development does. And as we've watched this happen, which is fine, we have had some concerns as well as a neighbor with potential. This one neighbor went as far as to say that property pins were moved. I am not saying that right now. What I am saying is I took 5 photos. I want these in the record because I still own the lot behind. And if I build a spec house on it someday and find that property pins were moved or misplaced, I need that in the record.
So
to
can
come
you
back.
just then point out, when you say behind, north, south, east, or west of the proposed lot? That'll help.
I own this lot still.
Okay.
Which, this is kind of an old plat because that doesn't exist anymore.
Uh-huh.
This neighbor has expressed some concerns about location of property pins when they were putting in the back of their fence. And I am just here to make sure that this is read into the record. I did not want to spend any money to go get a survey to check for myself, but I do know that when that lot comes along, if there are issues, we can go back in the record, and there it is. So I am going to submit these 5 pictures.
And the pictures represent what again?
Could we see those, please?
So the pins as they are now, is that what you're saying?
The pins as they are now with, I was out there, those pictures were taken today.
Okay,
There is an old lath that is now, I guess, marking the middle of where this lot line division is going to be. And I don't know if anything happened. I'm not even going to speculate. I don't know. I know I'm not going to take the time and the money to go hire a surveyor to go resurvey the pins. But I do need it in the record that, you know, we are taking these lots and building our own spec houses. So if I march up the street in a couple years and find that back lot has been shaved off a couple feet, that's going to cause some big problems for me. So, again,
you're making an accusation, actually.
I'm not making an
You're
accusation
not making an accusation. You're just strictly saying that.
that there has been some slight chatter in the neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
And
You're
I am
saying,
here
okay.
to have that put on the record. So if there are ever any issues, we can go back to the record and see that I was here and that I submitted 5 photos and go from there.
And the photos are to prove,
The photos are not to prove
just to
anything.
show at the point in time of the division, this is what it looked like.
Correct.
Okay,
If I may,
No accusations, no, nothing.
okay. I
Just
get you
read
now,
into the
Gary.
record.
All right, sure.
Okay.
Wait just a second, because Gary's going to say something. We just-
so Leah, the size of those 2 lots, what is the minimum size that they can be?
The minimum size is 25 feet wide.
Okay, but we're talking about 2250 square feet?
Correct.
Okay, and then you can go forward again. Okay. So if the minimum size is 2,250 square feet, these both meet the minimum size. Certainly, Garrett, if you want to put those in the record, that's fine. Should it ever come to a property line dispute, they'll probably be of minimal probative value, but certainly as a member of the public, if you want to put those in the record, we can accommodate that.
Okay, that's all I was here
But,
for.
but it is not going to affect the size of these lots enough where they would be out of compliance with our zoning code.
Yeah, no, there's
Okay.
no accusation, nothing has gone on. I just know that there's been some,
And out of curiosity, have you spoken with the neighbor?
we tried to have a conversation, didn't really go so well, so.
Because the neighbor felt like you were
Well,
accusing
which neighbor?
them?
I guess, which neighbor are you?
Well, the one where you think were the possibility that
We
something.
tried to have a conversation, it didn't really go anywhere,
Okay,
so.
all right, and do you know the
I'm not
last
gonna
time
waste,
that,
I'm not gonna waste my time on it.
do you know the last time your property was surveyed?
When we developed the lots, what, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so that's the last survey record.
We don't just go out and get surveys of our lots. Like when the property pins were placed, when we developed the lots, that's where they've been that's where they should be ever since.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's what you have as your information. All right. Is anything else you want to?
Nope.
Okay, thanks
All
for
right.
bringing that in.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? You know, you're welcome to come to the table because it's a committee meeting. So I know that Garrett felt more comfortable going there, but
Oh, I'm all right. My name is Stacy Smeshek. I own RMR Construction, and my company owns that lot. And I just like
that lot is which lot?
the one that's up to be proposed to be
To be divided?
split.
Uh-huh.
So we haven't done anything with those property pins. The day that we bought that lot, those property pins are where they're at. We paid for a survey. It's been a few months ago, but that survey is based on what we turned in. So that survey is where those pins are at. So I don't know why anything would even be added to the record if it's just, I mean, what does that do, what he's providing? I mean, that's not even a survey. Whatever he's saying is, I don't see where that's going.
Are you the neighbor that he talked about talking to?
I don't know if he sent me a text message one day, but he never called. We've been building on that site for over 6 months. We've never talked to him, other than ask permission to drive across there, and we got the text saying that the property pins were moved. So that's all news to me, and.
So
I
you're
mean,
the neighbor he was talking about, though?
Well, there is a
You're the
lady that's.
developer.
What's that?
You're the developer of the lots.
Of that lot.
Of that.
But the person that put the fence in that is kind of on that diagonal line in the far corner, there used to be a yellow cap on that corner pin that we share. There's no longer a yellow pin on there after they put their fence in. But like, we're getting ready to put a little retaining wall on both sides of those lines, and I measured the pins like maybe 2 days ago, and they're as close as I can get with a tape measure, and I'm not a surveyor.
From the
so-
pin?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And after we paid for the survey just a few months ago, our survey guys didn't say there was anything wrong with those pins. So I don't know where this is going. I think it's a bunch of baloney. And that's really about it.
Okay, thanks, yeah?
Yeah, again, I would just remind the council that we are here to look at the zoning code and the application for lot line division, and for those issues relevant to that. Public can certainly make comments as they will, but a private property boundary dispute, as long as it does not affect the size of these lots and how they fit into the code, then really it's irrelevant to the discussion.
Right, but I just,
Yeah. I don't have anything
Just
else
trying
to
to
say
understand.
other than, I mean, the survey that we turned in, or the application that we've turned in is based on the survey that we paid for.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for your comments.
I don't have any.
That's very good. Did you all have any questions or anything?
No, the pictures are fine as far as that, but they don't really have any reference point on them, and they don't really show anything. I mean, there's nothing in those pictures that shows me where a survey marker is, or whether or not it's been moved or anything. They doesn't really do anything. Go ahead and put them in there. If he wants to say that he brought the pictures of where they are, that's fine, but they don't really show me anything.
Right. Is there any other public comment? No? All right. With that, we need to take an action, so do you have anything to say?
No, I would move to approve the lot division as presented,
With conditions or without conditions?
without conditions.
And you're okay with that, too?
Yes.
All right, so then we'll move it on. It is approved without conditions, and I think we'll put it on consent agenda, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 4 is request for Hamilton funds for the installation of the Atani Park Playground equipment with David. Thanks for coming to the table.
Well, thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is the Atani Park Playground Equipment Installation. The Parks and Recreation Department is requesting Hamilton funds for the installation in-house with our parks crews for Batani Park, for the equipment, the playground equipment that we've purchased, and the safety tiles in an amount not to exceed $3,000. The council on June 18th approved the purchase of the playground equipment. However, an oversight on my part, I did not request the Hamilton funding source to do the installation in-house. An oversight on my part, and that falls on my shoulders. I do apologize. So if approved, we're anticipating the concrete pad to be poured as soon as the weather allows in the spring with the contractor that council considered a little while back. And then staff will have the funds to go ahead and install the playground. The budgetary will be capital projects, capital Hamilton funds for the project. The installation is generally, I guess I'd call them consumables, you know, the quickcrete for the support posts, Loctite for the bolts, things like that, just to give staff some funding to go ahead and get those installed. So with that, we're recommending to move forward with this so we can get it installed in the spring, and hopefully we get a good spring and get that built quickly. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Seems like right in line with what we're supposed to be using the Hamilton funds for, so I have no problem with it.
I have no questions.
Yeah, that's good. And then, so then we'll just recommend approval of the Hamilton funds that are in the FY19 budget for the installation of the Atani Park playground equipment and safety tiles not to exceed $3,000 with funding source from the Hamilton Fund.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want that on consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is the Edible Forest Park Professional Services Agreement. Continuing with the Assistant Director, David.
Well, good afternoon once again. So this is the Edible Forest Park, the working name for the park, Professional Services Agreement. We're requesting authorization to retain Bernardo Wills Architects of Spokane for the conceptual planning for the park at a cost to exceed $11,395. The scope of services will include a kickoff and a scoping meeting, 2 public workshops. That's really where we want to gather a bunch of public input, develop 2 conceptual plans, in preparation of a preferred alternative. So the alternative that we want to move forward with the conceptual planning. This also involves some go-to meetings with the Tree and Parks and Recreation Commission. And then the real crux of this is a preparation of opinion of probable construction costs so for hopefully inclusion in the fiscal year 20 budget cycle requests. So the Moscow Tree Commission has really been the lead commission on this project. Part of that is we developed a core development team. One of their first things we had done was a mind mapping exercise to kind of get a grasp of the specialized park. The vision statement that they came up with and the Tree Commission considered was, and I'm just going to read this, so Edible Forest Park is a long-term dynamic landscape. This unique space is intended to provide educational opportunities and an example to our community of the stewardship of a public food forest. This unique space will create a sense of place and community pride for the city of Moscow for generations to come. So that was the vision statement we had worked on, and I'm kind of proud of that. Just a little background. This is a piece of property on Southview Avenue across the street from the Grove apartment complex. Council approved a parkland exchange and dedication agreement earlier this year in April for this leading into this specialized type park. The budget for this, we're looking at 2 funding sources. This wasn't budgeted in fiscal year 19 specifically, so we're going to use our professional services agreement out of Parks and Recreation Administration and then some out of Parks and Recreation Parks in our professional services to come up with the $11,395. As I mentioned earlier, we anticipate if this is improved to have this by mid-February or so we can start getting ready for the fiscal year 20 budget requests. With that, we're recommending approval of Bernardo Wills Architects. We've worked with them in the past on some other conceptual planning for some of our parks for an amount not to exceed $11,395. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Yeah, mine is just about the public workshops. We know that usually what the public wants and what is feasible sometimes are really far apart.
Sure.
Will the architects be helping guide the conversation, or are you just letting that be wide open?
I think it's a conversation we'll have with the architects. They need to know the landscape that they're doing the public workshops.
Yeah.
Yeah. By landscape, smaller town, limited resources for funding and stuff. We've got to keep it grounded somewhat. We want to hear what the public has to say, what their wants and needs are, but there's also the realities as well.
Yeah, of
So-
that particular location too, and then you had mentioned too that how we're going to deal with the food issue. Is that coming out of the tree commission? You mentioned something about that.
Yes.
When it finally is in production.
Sure, the tree
Yeah.
commission's one of the lead commissions on this project. Those management things they need to be vetted out, what that policy may look like, and I think that'll have its roots in the, excuse the pun, in the tree commission, how that's going to be managed. There's many issues like that, how's it available, when and where and why.
Okay, thanks, yeah.
Kind of a subtle pun there, David. The policies on how the fruit will be used and that sort of thing. Number one, we're looking pretty far down the road that this is not intended to deal with that. This is design, and will there be questions to the public on those policy issues, David, or is it mostly design of the park, what people would like to see in the park?
Design of the park and what the public would like to see. The management issues will have to be addressed as we get through this process at a
But I
later
think
time.
what Gary's alluding to, which is what I'm saying, is I think they're going to go into harvesting. So I'm asking
Sure.
that we can help them see that particular area, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And out of the tree commission, we developed a core development team that's got a member from the Parks and Recreation Commission, a few from the tree commission, an edible local expert, I guess I would call it, to help generate and look at comparables of what other things like this are, to develop that policy. We're going to have something in place.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so the timing, you said you would want this step to be completed by February, is that right?
Correct.
And so with the only comment I have with the workshops and the public input is, if possible, to avoid that month that is university break, because that's, a lot of people are gone, so.
Good point. We've got the holidays. But we want to make sure we get this moving and in anticipation of fiscal year 20.
Maybe if at least one of them could be strategically held outside of that timeframe.
Sure,
just
that's
to
a good
be
point.
more-
Any questions? Did you have something else?
No, the only other, you may be aware of this, but I'm not sure that I think back when the presentation first came, there was some talk about there being a little bit of parking along the Indian Hills to access,
Yeah.
and that's no longer an option. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that when you talk with them, because there's that bike lane there now, so the parking has been,
On the north side on Indian Hills on top?
yes, yep.
I
There's
wasn't
no
aware of
parking
that.
there anymore, so make sure that these guys know about that. They don't,
Plan that. That's good to remember that.
Yep.
All right, I think that we need a recommendation for approval.
I think we should recommend approval. Could be consent agenda items, near as I can tell.
Just go ahead and say the whole thing, though.
Recommend approval of Bernardo Wells Architects for conceptual planning for the Edible Forest Park at a cost of $11,395.
Thank you. Do you agree?
Great.
All right.
Yes.
And you're saying consent agenda too?
Yeah.
All right, that's what we'll do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Item 6, Idaho Airport Aid Program Grant Agreement. And you're filling in for us.
Filling in, playing the part of Elisa Anderson and Tony Bean both.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a weighty responsibility, but what you have before you today is a grant from the Idaho Transportation Department Division of Aeronautics in the amount of $7,500. As you know, the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport is recognized and designated by the state of Idaho as a Idaho commercial airport. The Idaho Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division is not well-funded, but they typically provide funding to commercial airports, and the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport typically receives half of the funding of an airport if it was in Idaho, because they look at it being funded by both Washington and Idaho states. And as you can see, the funding is not, it's not a lot of funding, but we certainly appreciate everything that the IDT does for us in that case. So the recommendation is to approve it. It needs to be ratified. The mayor needs to sign it. It has to be submitted to Boise by December 15th. And then the funds will be turned over. I believe they'll come to the city, be turned over to the airport, and then it'll be subject to the management of Tony Bean as executive director of the airport in conformance with the grants. Elisa Anderson's been involved, put her and Tony together so that made sure that the city got all of its accounting needs and responsibilities out of the way as well. So we're looking to have this approved.
This is a yearly?
Yes, typically it's on the state's funding cycle.
Okay, very good.
So does this need to be a regular agenda item since the mayor needs to?
Ratify
No,
it.
it could be consent as long as you authorize him to sign it, which it's not necessary for it to be regular.
I'd like to add something to that. Even though it seems like not much, $7,500, but you got to remember something. We're at 8.125%, so on $100,000, if we got from the federal government, that's only $8,125. So this thing is worth over $90,000 for airport improvements for us. So just thought I'd throw that out there so you
Matching
guys know.
federal dollars.
Yep, matching federal dollars. You bet. So I think I'm happy anytime we can get a dime from anybody on this is great news for us. I just wanted to add that.
Do you have a preference if you want it on consent or regular?
I don't really
agenda?
care. It'd be fine if it's on regular. I don't care either way. Doesn't
Okay.
matter to me.
Well, I think it's always good for you to continue along, because you have the most information being on the airport board to talk about this, so having it on, to me, regular
Sure.
agenda is a good
Yeah.
thing, so then, it's okay with y'all? We'll put it on regular agenda, yeah,
Awesome.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any reports?
I have no reports for you tonight.
Mia, you have any reports?
No.
Gina?
Got nothing for you.
All right, with that, we may adjourn.
Thank you.